Oh, good morning, everybody. I don't know, about 10:30. Timmy's decided she's going to be noisy in the background. I think Deuce is trying to sweet talk some of the girls over there, and I guess that agitates Timmy. And so she's trying to tell him to stop it or something. I don't know. But anyway, hopefully she won't drown me out. So, things on my mind this morning. This is Monday, September 27th. First of all, obviously, unless there's something we've not heard about yet, the whole thing with September 24th was just a whole lot of nothing. Or maybe something hadn't come out yet. I don't know. I think I mentioned in another video, I just kind of glanced off of it, and it's pretty much what's going to happen today. I'll get it a little more solid, but there's really not much information about it, so no reason. It's just something that I think needs some awareness. It seems the Chinese president or whatever's MIA. There's all kinds of stories. There was a coup, and he's lost control of the banking system, and who knows? I mean, it's China. There's no telling what's going on over there. And that could have some ramifications, and I'm not sure what those are. I kind of hope it's a de-escalation of the saber rattling that's going on, and we'll see. Hopefully that, if it is a coup, there's not some crazy tyrannical despot military leader that's stepping up and is going to be worse than what they've had. Hopefully it's some rich people over there wanting to stay rich, and so they're going to go a more capitalist direction. Let's hope. That's me being optimistic. That doesn't, from my limited knowledge of Chinese history, that doesn't seem to be the way they usually go. So, there's that. Also, I can't find any information on where we're at with the railroad strike. Did they ratify the contract or what? I don't know. Maybe something will come up today. It's I don't know. It's not a good situation. If big word, if we go on strike, that would be bad. But I don't know that that's going to happen. I am hoping that they will accept the contract and go back to work, and so tying in with that, as I reach over and move my glasses for no good reason, I was in the grocery store where my nephew works yesterday. And of course, there's missing products off the shelf. There's blank spots on the shelves, and this is kind of I believe, a regional chain of grocery stores. It's not an independent. The way I understand it, I don't know, but I'm not going to mention their name, throw them under the bus. So then I ran into my nephew there, and he works back in the meat department, and was kind of talking to him, and he was telling me that they're not getting half of their meat orders that they order. You know, it's just not happening. And I haven't had the opportunity, and I told him I'd like to sit down and actually talk to him about some of this stuff. But that hasn't happened, and getting him pinned down to have a conversation is nearly impossible. I'm going to call him a kid because he's a lot younger than me. You know, he's just in his early 20s, so he is still a kid. But he don't answer his phone, he don't answer text messages. You just got to catch him. But anyway, this isn't about how hard it is to contact him. He was telling me that they're having so much trouble getting chicken from Tyson that they are trying to reach out, and I don't know whether it's this specific store or the entire chain. They're trying to reach out to regional chicken growers to see if they can get chicken. And, you know, that's going to be hard for them to do, because anybody that grows chicken in a volume that I'm aware of around here, in the kind of volume that I'm assuming they need, they're contracted, you know, to one of the big poultry companies. So, you know, but this gives me a little bit of hope, just a little bit, that maybe these large corporations that have had this chokehold on our food supply for the last few years is losing a little bit of that grip, you know. And I can't, and I'm sure many of you feel this way too. You know, I've talked to a lot of people, and they feel the same. And I can't put my finger on just exactly to say, okay, look, this right here is what's going on. But something's going on. Yeah, we've had bouts of avian flu. Birds have been destroyed. We've had chicken and turkey houses catch on fire and be destroyed. Processing plants are having fires, and planes blown into them, and you know. But of course, nobody's really tracked all that information. So is this normal, and we're just now hearing about this stuff happening? Or is it really getting worse? I know, and anybody that can think knows that we're going to have things happen. You know, the bird flu, you know, avian flu is a real thing. It affects birds, and, you know, it seems the only way to stop it is to destroy a whole flock full of birds in these big poultry houses. So, you know, but it just seems like there's something more going on. We've had that happen before. We've had poultry houses burned down before. We've, you know, processing plants get destroyed. You know, things happen. We know this, but this just feels different. You know, and I wonder what's going on. Of course, finding information, you know, there's all kinds of conspiracy theories, and I don't want to get into those, although I do love a good conspiracy theory. Some of them are just hilarious. They're so far out there. And some of them are scary. They're so close to reality and what we're seeing. And you can explore all those. Just go, you know, think something up your head and go to your favorite search engine and find it. And it's out there. And a whole lot more. So we're not going to go into conspiracy theories. And if I don't know, I'm going to tell you I don't know, and I don't know a lot. So I talked to my nephew, and you know, their meat department, they cut their own meat there. And I'm sure they bring in wholes and halves of whatever animal, and then they, you know, cut it up where it's broke down less than the whole animal. And you know, I'm glad he's learning to do that. That's a skill that could be important. It is an important skill. I mean, you know, although if you want to bad enough, you can figure out how to get an animal processed to a point you can get it down into a manageable portion that you can eat. It may not look pretty, but you can get it done. And that's the category I fit in. I'll get it cut up so that I can cook it somehow. So, you know, there's all that going on. And it makes a person wonder, what is really going on? Trying to make sure, I'm trying to collect my thoughts here. But, you know, that information makes me think I'm on the right track with what I'm doing here with our animals. For us, part of the reason, the main reason we got into this, and to start with, first of all, I grew up this way. To where, you know, my parents, you know, usually processed a beef every year or so. They had a milk cow. They raised pigs, so we'd process a pig or two a year. Chickens, they would buy 100 chickens in the spring and raise them up. And my uncle and aunt would come over and they would process them and split them, and, you know. So this is where I grew up, and I had reached a point in my life where I wanted to get back to that. Mom and Dad grew a great garden, huge garden. I don't do so well with the gardening. I want to try, and this year there was a lot of chaos and we didn't get to try any gardening really. I grew some potatoes and I got some corn out there growing now, but that was about the extent of it. But you know, I grew up, Mom and Dad grew a huge garden. Most people, their house don't sit on as much land as what they gardened. You know, tomatoes, corn, beans, squash, okra. Okra. But anyway, so that's one reason. I always figured I would get back to that. And 2020 was kind of an eye-opener for us, as it was for a lot of people. So that's when we bought our first pigs, and all that's documented already in YouTube videos. Go back and watch them. That would help my watch hours tremendously. But whatever, you know, we got the first pigs, and we got chickens first, and we had an incident with a fox that wiped out our whole flock. And then we got the pigs. And then we got a boar to breed the pigs with. And then we got a second boar and have started a second herd. So, you know, thinking to sell some. Kind of sell some to help pay for our meat. But the reason we started, another reason we started, was to know what went into our food. You know, you get to looking, and if I can't pronounce something that on that food label, it really makes me wonder. And I know a lot of it's just scientific stuff that's above my head, and you know, it may or may not be bad for me. But when we have one of these processed, we know what it was fed. Now, we are not organic, you know, just the cost of it's prohibitive for me. So, anyway, there's the background on why we do what we do. But then 2020, and that's when we got our pigs, because they were dirt cheap. You could pick up those confinement operations. Well, you could buy the pigs from them for dirt cheap. We got ours for $35 a piece. And I'm getting $80 a piece for the same size pig now. That's how much things have changed in 2 years. 2 years. But I'm selling a slightly different product than those were. You know, and we don't have the overrun. We're having food shortages now. And I'm seeing repeat customers. But anyway, just knowing that my pigs live out here, they get sunshine, they get to wallow around in the mud, they eat weeds and bugs and a snake or two if they can catch it, you know. They get a varied diet, is what I'm saying, plus the feed that we give them, you know. And I just think that makes for better meat. And here's the challenge. Go find someone, if you can, that is raising meat the way I do, or similar. And go to your favorite grocery store and buy the same cut. Whether it be ground pork or a pork chop, bacon. Bacon is way different. But so is pork chops. And first look at them. You look at that one from the grocery store, it's kind of, in my mind, and keep in mind here I'm colorblind to an extent. But you look at that pork chop from the grocery store, it's kind of pink and it's soft. It just to me doesn't look appealing. And then you take one of these other pork chops, they're red, they got streaks of fat running through them, and how much depends on the breed of pig, how it was fed, you know, how it was raised. Fat is flavor. Just, you know, there's no getting around that. But, and then cook them. I mean, the farm raised, the outdoor raised pig, you know, mine are kind of a pasture situation. But even if you get one that's just in a small pen, like I have the Brat Pack in over here now, which they won't stay in there. They're about to graduate out of there in a couple of weeks. But even one in a small situation like that is going to look better, feel better. It's going to be a firmer piece of meat, and it's going to taste better. So there's that. And now, you know, we've stepped into cattle a little bit. We're starting to dabble in that. As it turns out, we probably paid a bit much for Butch at the time. But, you know, we're not looking to resale, so it doesn't matter, and it's just for us, you know. Now, we got Skittles. One, we got a good price on her, and she's a heifer, which means she's a female that we can breed, and, you know, we can breed and raise our own. We don't have to go buy anymore. Now, at some point, we're either going to have to invest in a bull, or rent a bull or AI. But we'll cross that bridge. We've still got probably a year before we have to answer that question. And by then, things may be totally different. We may have a bull or, want to go in a different direction, which I doubt. Because I think meat prices from the store that comes from your the big 4 or 5 that control it. There's only like 8 companies in the world that control the majority of the meat that goes into the grocery stores. Now, I know why they did that in the beginning. It gives them more control, puts more money in their pocket. They can set their prices for what they're going to pay to get the animals. It just makes good business sense. Especially in a world where, in a country at least, in the United States, where fewer and fewer people are growing the food. These practices, the feedlots, the big confinement grow out houses for pigs and turkeys and chickens and all that. It's an efficient way to grow a lot of food for a lot of people. It gives them decent protein. It's, I believe I read somewhere that your animals raised on pasture that can get out in the sunshine and eat bugs and grass and whatever they eat naturally has a higher nutritional value than the ones that don't. And another note, vitamin D helps to fight off this coronavirus that we've been fighting with for 2 years, and they keep telling us it's not going away. Well, vitamin D does help protect against that. I've read studies on chicken and pigs both, where pasture-raised operations, that meat is higher in vitamin D. So there are reasons to buy your meat from a small producer like myself. And here's the deal. I only have 10 acres. And, I can produce a whole lot more pigs than I am each year. And we're looking into making changes. I'm not looking into it. I am thinking better ways to do what I do without going to a complete confinement operation. To be honest, I have got to fix my farrowing situation. I have way too much loss that I shouldn't be having. So I've got some ideas on that I need to get started working on, but in time, everything takes time and money. Right now I got the time, money not so much, but working on things. But, go find a smaller operation. Even if you go in with a friend, you got a friend that's got 5-10 acres, and you go in together and you buy you 4 hog panels, 8 T-posts, and some tie wire. Don't do zip ties. They don't work. Voice of experience. And you've got your pig pen. Now you can get into it for as much money as you want to spend. Buying automatic feeders, but you can go buy 2 rubber pans. I think they're like $20 a piece at Tractor Supply or Atwoods or Orscheln's or whatever type of store like that you want to go into or you shop at. Or you can, find you an old hot water tank maybe and cut it down like I did. I just did a video a couple of days ago, put it out. It took me a week to do that video. But anyway, over a week. But anyway, you can do that. You're into that for next to nothing. I would suggest you also buy a fence charger, run a hot wire on that pen. But those hog panels 16 foot long, so that gives you a hog pen of 16 by 16, and that's big enough to raise 2 pigs in. You could probably raise more, but then you're gonna get into smell, and you know it's gonna be muddy. It's gonna be muddy anyway. Pigs make mud, and sometimes they make it and don't intend to. So, you know, find somebody that you can work with like that. You know, make a deal of, you know, you buy the feed, they feed them, and provide the place for them to grow out. 6 months. 6 months, that'll be big enough to probably cover your pork needs for 6 months. I mean, depending on how much pork you eat. Now, it probably won't give you 6 months worth of bacon unless you really stretch it, because there's only so much bacon you can get off a pig. And that's what a lot of people really, really like, including me. I think I prefer a good breakfast sausage over bacon, but I like bacon too. Anyway, so there's all of that. And you'll have more nutritious meat, guaranteed. Find your small producers, your farmers markets. You know, get to them, stop and talk to them. Your farmer. You know, you go to the farmer's market, you're buying tomatoes, talk to them a little bit. Build a relationship. You know, be a repeat customer. You know, I know that as you know, selling these pigs, I like it when somebody comes back. You know, I've got one guy now that he's ordered. He bought one, and within a week he ordered another one, and then like 2 or 3 weeks later he wanted 2 more. So evidently he likes meat. So there's all of that. You know, I think that if people would look out for the smaller farmer a little more, yeah, it costs you a little bit more. It does. But that's one of the things that, as I've gotten into this, and I've looked at, you know, the pricing, and I'm pretty cheap still on my pigs. I probably should be raising my prices. But I can produce them for that and make a little money. I mean, I watched a video, and I didn't find out how, but she raises Michon pigs, which are a Chinese pig, ugly things. But she claims she make over $6,000 per pig on them. That's a pretty good return on investment, even, you know, having to buy it and feed it, and you know, all of that. So, but I don't want to get into that. If you want to know more about that, check out Pork Rhyne on YouTube. It's PorkRhyne. He's got some really good content. So, okay, I've beat that horse enough. Another thing on my mind is, and this is kind of in the rumor stages for me, there's a new drug. It's supposed to be coming here. I mean, and that got me thinking. This is some kind of cattle tranquilizer that eats human flesh. And I'm thinking, I get to thinking back, you know, we've got fentanyl out there now that's the new epidemic. And it was heroin, and it was crack, and it was cocaine before that. And, you know, at one point there we had bath salts, which would make people go eat other people's face off. You know, this is just crazy. And you think about how much money is spent on, supposedly, on fighting against drugs. And it's crazy. I'm going to take a break here. Okay, I had to free up some room on my phone here. I got a little long-winded on the part about local meat, how important it is. And I think it should be way more important. Everybody gets, and I kind of touched on this, but everybody, it's something, I know I'm off topic right now, okay? Because local grown meat, kind of a passion with me. So, it's something that fascinates me. It just fascinates me that people want their food as cheap as they can get it. They don't mind going out spending $40,000 for a brand new car. You know, they don't mind that. They don't mind $700,000-$800,000 phone. You know, but they balk at $6 a pound bacon. You know, it's crazy. You know, when you think about what goes into that bacon, you know, it cost me roughly $2. Let's just $2 a pound to grow that pig out to butcher weight. No, it's a little bit less than that, but you know, about $1.50, I think, is what it cost me to get a pig from weaning age to butcher size of 250 pounds plus. So what is that? That's about $350. No, it's yeah, $375. So I'm gonna have to rethink pricing my pigs. But that's what it costs, and that doesn't include me keeping a boar and sows to create those pigs. Of course, you know, the boar and the sow, they're like fencing, and they're consumables, I guess you would say. I don't know. But they're not consumables. They're like the infrastructure, I guess. You got to have it, and over time you amateurize it out, and you know, it's not much cost per pig, you know, over the years. So anyway, but think about that. It costs, even if it cost me $200 to raise a pig from weaning age to that, it comes out to like $1.50 a pound, I think, something like that. And then you go to the processor and it'll cost you, I think it averaged out, last time I did the numbers on it, it averaged out around a little over $2 a pound for them to do what they do. That's a skill. And it's a skill that a lot of people don't want to learn. You know, nobody wants to go process their own meat. But yet, they want to go to the grocery store and buy that meat for $1 a pound, when in reality, you know, it's close to $400 a pound just to process it. Just because these huge farmers, not the farmers so much as the corporations that control the contracts that the big farmers have to get. it costs them a lot less. They buy in bulk. They grow hundreds at a time, but their profit margin per pig isn't very much. You know, yeah, they make money at it, obviously, or they wouldn't do it. So, like I said, it blows my mind. Of course, people don't know. They don't know this information I just gave you. So, if you're watching this video, share it with people. Tell them, hey, skip to about a little over 30 minutes in, and, you know, there's some useful information there. I hope it's all been useful, but at least for nothing else, get you to think. Maybe look, find out what's going on in the world. So back to the drug thing. Drugs are bad. Illegal drugs. And some of the legal ones are bad if they're not used correctly. We all know this. That's nothing new. But I'm thinking, where do these drugs keep coming from? Fentanyl is it's not like cocaine where these, you know, down in Colombia or Mexico or wherever, the climate is right for it. You know, the actual weather, climate, and soil and all of that, but the political climate and the economic climate and all of that. Anyway, that's a whole different video, but you know, cocaine, it's a plant. They grow it, they harvest it, they process it, and it's all done illegally in these shady labs. You know, there's no process control, you know, no government oversight. And that's another thing. And then, you know, they bring it in. But fentanyl, that's made by a pharmaceutical company. Where's it? How are they getting it? I mean, and that's something I've never seen. And that's a question that maybe we should be asking. How are these smugglers that are bringing this fentanyl in across the southern border or wherever else they can bring it in? I'm sure there's some that's going around and coming in through Canada and down. And there's some coming in the ports, and you know how that works. We focus on the southern border because in the media, because you know there's a whole lot going on down there. Anyway, a topic for another video. How are they getting their hands on it? You know, of course, most of our drugs in this country are made somewhere else. And this leads me back to where we started at today with what's going on. Our supply chain in general, and especially our food supply chain, has major issues that we've never had before. And they say they can't get truck drivers. Okay, well, and I can see why they can't get truck drivers. You know, each state, the federal government has their laws. Each state has their laws. And then every law enforcement agency in the country, talking your police and sheriffs and all that kind of stuff, and even the feds with the Department of Transportation. I know when I drove truck over the road, I did it for, I don't know, a year and a half. It wasn't for me, you know. Money was good until you broke it down. At the time, I broke it down and I was making $5 an hour driving a truck over the road. I was running the miles, but as soon as you leave, you're on the clock, you're driving, you're responsible for that truck and everything in it until you come back home and park that truck in the at the company, and they take back control of it. So just being gone all the time, I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed parts of it, but just driving for hours and hours. But anyway, enough about me. You would have, I was stopped by state cops. We got shut down one time because somebody had put 5 gallons of oil-based paint in our load. It was a mixed load of mixed stuff. And we didn't look at the bill. Our fault. So we had 5 gallons of flammables on there. And of course, nothing would have came of it if the guy I was driving with hadn't been a knucklehead and blew past a scale house. I was asleep, which I guess is my fault. But anyway, hold on a sec. Okay. Had to have a word with Timmy, and obviously it didn't take. But anyway, you know, he blew past this scale house, and he wakes me up, and he's all in a panic, and he wasn't a very sharp guy. And what do I do? I said, well, turn around and go back. I said, just let's get turned around, head back. You know, well, that makes them mad when they'd already sent their highway patrol officer that was stationed there after us, and he got us stopped after we got turned around to head back, and said, look, you know, we're headed back. Okay, well, follow me. Went back, went across the scale. We were okay, so we'll bring your paperwork, park your truck over there. They pulled us in the garage to do an inspection, and they did a thorough inspection on that truck. Okay. So they did this thorough inspection. They went through our logbooks, and that's the only thing they could find was 5 gallons of oil-based paint on that truck. You got flammables on there, you need a placard that says flammable. Well, fortunately, they let us drop the trailer there. We couldn't move the trailer. It was there. And we spent the next, I believe it was 6 hours, trying to find the placards we needed to put on that truck. Flammable placards. You know, that I believe in being safe, but that's a bit overly cautious, I believe. So anyway, that's the state of California. Of course, this was back in '88, and I'm sure it's worse now. But I just felt like that every cop in the country was on the lookout to bust a trucker for something. You know, like we were easy targets. Okay. I got the dog to shut up, but now I got a chicken back here mouthing at me. She'll wander off here in a little bit. So, you know, and now I just, you know, started driving school bus. I'm a substitute school bus driver. And I was told when I got my license, well, it's a good thing you did it now, because after February, you're going to have to go to school to get that. You got to go to school for however much, and you got to find somebody, because the state doesn't do the schooling. They just tell the schools, this is what you got to teach, this is what we're going to test for. And then the school teaches you those things, and then, you know. So now, before you can even drive a truck or a school bus or anything else, and I'm all for safety, but all that schooling does not make you a safe driver. I mean, we all know people who have had driver's ed in school, and they're still idiots behind the wheel. I don't know, a chicken's being silly over there. But that's the problem with driving now. Anything. If you're going to able to make a living at it, the government wants to get as much of that piece of the pie as they can get. You know, I don't think in general the trucking industry is any safer than it's ever been, because they don't address what the real problem is. You're paid by the mile, and you know, we as people tend to be greedy. We want to get as much as we can, and there's people plays games with the logbooks. You know, they'll carry 2 or 3 logbooks, and they'll have one set that they turn in and another one that just disappears. You know. And so things aren't really any safer by them making these laws. It's just some politician or group of politicians making themselves feel good. Oh, I did something, and the government just gets more money out of it. That's all it is. And then they mishandle that money. But again, you know, there's part of the reason you got a shortage of truck drivers. Plus, that's a rough way to make a living. You'll drive that truck 12, 16 hours, maybe 20, 24 hours a day, you know, depending on who you are and what you want to get out of it. Now, legally, you can't drive 24 hours a day straight. There's ways to get around it, just like everything else. There's a way to cheat that system. And they don't care about you cheating the system after you get out there, as long as you've paid your money up front and you keep paying your taxes. So, anyway, yeah, we've been down some rabbit trails today. This is a pretty long video. I didn't intend it to be, but oh, I'll have to review all this, and if you've seen it, then you'll know I decided to put it out there. But that's just some of the things on my mind today. I mentioned in a video, the video before last, I believe, that I was thinking about starting another channel. And I didn't go into it because if you watched that video, you saw I had a pig out and I stopped to deal with that. So, the reason I'm thinking about a different channel is this right here. I have all this information that I want to share that I think needs to be shared. But I think it conflicts somewhat or causes confusion with the other channel. We're talking about, you know, sustainability and growing your own meat and just showing what I'm doing, you know. But I don't know. If you're seeing this and you got an opinion, you know, and here, like I said, here's my question. Does this type of video confuse things over my animal videos and my farming videos, you know? Or, you know, I think they tie in. I'm one of those people that think everything is related, you know. I'm stumbling here because I'm not wanting to go down a rabbit trail. You know, this video's close to 40 minutes long now. Well, actually it's close to 50 minutes long, so I don't want to drag it out anymore. But just be ready. And I haven't even got to everything I want to talk about. I want to talk about the impending hurricane down in Florida. And, you know, preparing. And that is something that that's why you prep. It's for things like that. And if you prep for stuff like that, then the bigger things that a lot of these prepping channels talk about, you're further down that road to being ready for it. You know hurricanes happen. And if you live in a hurricane area, you know it's going to happen. If you live in Florida, you know you're going to get hit by a hurricane. If you live in the Midwest here where I live, you know there's going to be a tornado. Now, tornadoes don't cause the widespread damage as a hurricane, but it is localized, you know. An example, my parents bought that house that my mom lives in now in 1969, December 1969, moved in early 1970, and have lived there pretty much the whole time. And I think it was 3 years ago now, you know, there's been tornado warnings and watches, and we actually watched a funnel cloud go over the house. My dad showed me as we were going down into the basement. At the time, you looked out, the back door is here. There's the stairs to the basement. Dad had been standing watching, and he grabbed me as I was getting there, and he said, "Look, son, I want you to see this." And there was that funnel cloud going right over. It had just went over the house. And fortunately, it never touched down anywhere. But 3 years ago, they had one that, it was at least a damage path of at least a quarter mile long. And it knocked a lot of trees over at my mom's house. Did even more damage up the roadways because she was on the edge of it. But from 1970 to 2019, never had one that close. But you can only play. The odds eventually are going to be that you're going to be close to one if it doesn't hit you directly. So that's the kind of thing you prepare for. Storm shelters, like there's one right in front of me over there that we just put in a few years ago. Since we put it in, we've not had the need to go into it. Which, okay, I can deal with that. I'll let it sit there, But we got a few preps in there, just in case we need it. Just stuff to get us through the night, basically. But, you never know. And the way things are going with the electrical grid, there's no telling what we're liable to get into. So, and it doesn't cost a whole lot. You don't have to go out and buy a bunch of specialized stuff to do this. Just, you go to the grocery store, buy you an extra can of something you like. An extra bag of beans if you like beans, or rice, or, just some extra stuff. A case of water. Just put it up. Water lasts for years. It has an expiration date on it, but I've drank water that's been in a bottle for 3 years. I couldn't tell a difference. So, but like I said, just you prep for what's likely to happen in your area. So anyway, this video's gotten long enough. I've gone down enough rabbit trails, and I have to wind it up. This is looking like it's going to be a standalone video. That noisy chicken over there, I guess she's waiting on me to yell at her to shut up too. But anyway, you hear her? She's noisy. She's got a lot to say this morning. I don't know. I wouldn't think so, but I'm just going to say, well, maybe I've done something here she wants to be, and I'm there. But anyway, so, and this prepping thing also comes back to what I always end with, and I'm about to say. Let's look out for each other. Let's help each other when we can, and let's pray. Prayers are important. And another thing I didn't get to mention is the recent elections in Italy. It looks like they have elected to have a conservative government, or at least the most conservative government they have had since World War II. Think about that. Maybe the tide's turning. Maybe things are changing for the better. If Italy is doing it, maybe there'll be a ripple effect, because it's where we need to go back to, folks. So, having said that, I'm going to cut this off, and I hope y'all found it useful and thought-provoking. Later.